Hello, everyone. This is Professor Sexton with a very short video lecture on Malcolm X coming to an awareness of language. This is actually an excerpt from his um, autobiographic of Malcolm X. But the excerpt that we're reading is only 3 pages long, so you can read this relatively quickly. And as I've suggested in the previous videos, either you would want to read the essay first and then watch the video lecture, or watch the video lecture first and then read the essay, whatever works for you. But anyway, in the excerpt that we have, what Malcolm X does is he recounts how while in prison, he begins the process of improving his education. And before being arrested in jail for burglary, Malcolm Little was a hustler in the 1940s underworld of Harlem, who was also known as Big Red. While in prison, he began to study the writings of Elijah Muhammad, leader of the Nation of Islam. Armed with a desire to let his fellow hustlers know about Allah and Elijah Muhammad, Little, he changed his name to Malcolm X after he was released in 1952, began to write letters. But he noticed he never received any replies. These unanswered letters motivated him to pursue what he calls his homemade education. He, and this is a quote from the excerpt, became increasingly frustrated at not being able to express what he wanted to convey in the letters that he wrote. On the streets, he had been the most articulate hustler who demanded respect, but in his letters, he wasn't able to express himself in simple English. He describes himself as not only not being articulate, but barely functional in his writing. What made matters worse is that while he was in Charleston prison, there was a fellow inmate named Bimby who had always taken charge of any conversation that he was in. And also, Malcolm X started to envy Bimby, who seemed to have this stock of knowledge that he himself did not have. And so, what Malcolm X tried to do was to emulate Bimby by picking up books to read. But there were so many words that he didn't know, so he skipped them. And thus, skipping them, he missed the main ideal of what he was reading. These feelings and experiences motivated him to request a dictionary, to learn new words, and to prove his penmanship. Malcolm X comments on how pathetic his skills were, but he dedicated himself to improving both. So, in addition to getting the dictionary to learn new words, he started to copy those words into a tablet. He repeated those words out loud to himself. And so he began to learn, and then in doing so, he began to learn the people and places and events from history. And he calls the dictionary a mini encyclopedia. And in increasing his vocabulary, Malcolm X then was able to pick up a book and understand the ideals in it. This ability opened a new world to him, and he read voraciously. The excerpts end with his following observation. And so this is how that excerpt that you read will end. He writes, "With my reading of books, months passed without my even thinking about being in prison. In fact, up to then, I had never been so truly free in my life." It's a very stirring essay that this excerpt that we read, because what it does, it details Malcolm's ex journey on education, and how he felt the need that he needed that education, the process that he went through in order to achieve that education, and the after effects of how that made him feel. And what Malcolm X is able to do in a very concise section, because there's only 3 pages, the excerpt that we're reading, he manages to put a lot into that, and a lot for us to think about and reflect on. Your discussion board question is going to be based also on something from this essay. I hope you enjoy reading this essay. I always have found it very powerful and very moving, and I look forward to hearing your responses to or reading your responses to the discussion board question. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.